Hi, welcome to session 4 of the Visual Strategies for Individuals with Autism Spectrum Disorder and Related Disabilities, brought to you by the Alaska Autism Resource Center. Today we are going to look at choosing a symbol system for the individuals that you're working with and specifically for the strategies that you're using. And we're also going to make a first then board as our make and take project tonight. So before we get started, I want to make sure that everyone has the materials that they need in order to complete the project. So the materials that you're going to need are a printer. You'll need cardstock or printing paper. You will need a pair of scissors, a laminator, or you can use contact paper or clear packing tape. You will need some type of adhesive, either Velcro, sticky putty, double-sided tape, magnetic tape, anything that will allow you to adhere your symbols to your board. You will need the printed templates that are available on our website where you logged in for this course. And so you can print those directly from the website. We will need a piece of cardboard if you're going to use actual objects or some other type of sturdy, something you can use as a board to hold those. You will need glue, and you will need a Ziploc bag. So I'm going to give you a few minutes so that you guys can gather any materials you may have missed. Also, remember that we have, for those of you that are watching this via online streaming or watching this from our website after it is no longer live, we can get a materials kit for free from our resource center, and all you need to do is email us, and our information is on the website where you logged in, and we will mail you a materials kit for free. So if you can go ahead now and gather your materials so that you'll have everything you need in order to complete the project. So now that you have your materials, before we begin, I need for everyone who is watching this via live streaming on your computer at home, if you could turn your camera and microphone off on your computer. So you will do this by clicking the two buttons that are lit up in green right now, the one that has a microphone and the one that has a camera. And when you click them and they are off, they will turn to red. Your microphone button will be red and your camera button will be red. This will prevent any feedback that we may have coming from your microphone or your camera that's built into your computer. Before we begin, we also need to make sure that you have completed your pretest on the site where you went to log in for this course. You should have a place where you can sign in. It says sign in sheet for online participants, so a place where you can sign in. You should have a place where you can print your templates in your handout. So down here you will have templates to download. You will have a place where you can print the PowerPoint right here. And if you would like to, this course is being offered for for 1 credit through UAF. We are getting actually we're kind of past the deadline, but if you're still interested in doing all 10 sessions in order to get that credit, then please contact us at the Resource Center, contact Krista at the Resource Center, and we can talk to you about whether that is still possible. But the registration form for the course is up at the top under course registration. And then we need for you to take your pre-test, which is under evaluations. That should take you to a survey, and if you could complete the pre-test, and then when you're done, we will need you to go back and take the post-test. the evaluation, and also to upload a photo of you with your support that you have made. And if you are getting credit for this course, then those will be your the evaluation for the course so that you can get that credit. So go ahead and take a minute to take the pre-test and print your templates and your handouts if you haven't already done that. Now, to start with today, we're going to talk about how to choose a symbol system for the individuals that we are working with so that the supports we're using are meaningful to them. Because what we don't want to do is to make all of these wonderful visual supports and to implement them with the person we're working with, and then for the symbols that we're using not to be meaningful to them. Because if they're not meaningful, then it's not going to be functional, and they're not going to draw any meaning from it, and they're not going to be able to use it. So we want to make sure that the symbols we're using are on their level, the level at which they are able to recognize the symbols and their meaning. So we always want to have, whenever we're choosing symbols, we always want to look at a kind of a hierarchy or a continuum for symbolic recognition. So symbolic recognition can be anything from very, very concrete, which would be like using an actual object, all the way to extremely symbolic, which would be the written word. The written word is the most symbolic form of symbol recognition that we can have, because we are reading, we're talking about actually reading the words, reading the text, understanding that those symbols for letters combined together make a word, and each word has a meaning. So that's very symbolic. It's very kind of abstract. So we start sometimes with individuals that need very concrete information to be able to recognize meaning, derive meaning from it, which would be like using actual objects. But it goes all the way up to, we hope to move all the way up to using the actual word or the written word, so that we're trying to always move them up to the other end of this continuum. We're always moving towards more symbolic forms of communication. We don't want to say just because they can recognize actual objects and they're being successful using actual objects in their visual supports, we don't want to say that, okay, well, we're going to stop there and they will always be using actual objects for their visual supports. We want to say, okay, now we're using actual objects, but let's think about how we move to more symbolic forms of symbols. So here is a continuum of symbol recognition. The least symbolic are actual objects. Towards the most symbolic, like we said, is text. So, but there's a lot of stages in between. After actual objects, we can move towards partial objects or miniature objects, because that's a little bit more symbolic than the actual objects. Then we can move from those partial objects to color photographs, then to color symbols, which would be kind of like line drawings or board maker symbols. Then we can move towards black and white photographs, and then black and white symbols, and then the last would be text alone. So we don't want to say that just because a person is able to use a visual schedule with color photographs, that for the rest of their life they're going to use a visual schedule with color photographs. We want to work up towards the other end of that continuum, towards the most symbolic, and always be thinking about how we can move them towards a more symbolic form of on the continuum. So in order to do this, we first have to start with assessing and figuring out what their current levels are, because you may not have to start with actual objects with some individuals that you're working with. You can start with color photographs, because they may already have that level of symbol recognition. And they can already understand that a picture, a photograph of a coffee cup is the same thing as the actual coffee cup. It means the same thing. So we might not have to start with those the most concrete, which would be the actual objects. So in order to assess what we're going to do, I'm going to show you an example. And in this example, I am saying that I believe that the person I'm working with can recognize color photographs. So I want to assess that. I want to see, I think this is the level they're at, but I'm not really sure, so I'm going to assess. So what I first need to do is I'm going to hold up, and we're going to start with reinforcing items. So things that are reinforcing. Well, to me, coffee is reinforcing, chocolate cake is reinforcing, football is reinforcing. So we're going to start with reinforcing items because people are more likely to recognize things that they really like. So what we would do is we're going to start with coffee, and we would hold up the actual object, the coffee cup, and we would use whatever cues the individual needs in order to match and see if they can match that picture. So if I'm holding up the coffee cup, I could say something like find the same, or I could say, show me coffee, or whatever cues they're used to responding to. And then we would have 3 pictures at the bottom, 2 to 3 pictures at the bottom, color photographs. It would be, and we have here a coffee cup, a chocolate cake, and a football. And so I'd say show me the same or show me coffee. And then we would see if the person we're working with could find the picture of the coffee cup. And so we would repeat that with many different reinforcing items. I would say maybe about 10 each session, and you could probably do you could probably have 20 overall and do 2 sessions. The first session with 10 items, the second session with the other 10 items, and then maybe do a third session where you mix them up, just to see if you're getting kind of a consistent level. And so what you would do is if the person that you're working with, here's a little flow chart for you. If you begin at the level that you think they're at, so we started with color photographs, and so we assessed that, and so at the end of those 3 sessions, we want to look and say, okay, do I think that 80%, did they get 80% or more correct? If they did get 80% or more correct, then I want to do the same process, but I want to use either non-reinforcing items, or I want to use neutral items, so things they don't really care about. So you can use things they don't like, or you can use things that they really don't care, like a laundry scoop or something like that. So you'd probably want to use a combination of non-reinforcing and neutral items. So then we would go through the whole process again. We would go through those